clear. Go.
Welcome back to another edition of this Cyberpunk 2077 lore series, focusing on the history of the Nomads. Recent updates on Cyberpunk Red from Mike Pondsmith and Artal Saurian Games indicate that the Nomads are going to play a significant part of shaping the narrative leading up to Cyberpunk 2077. So, who are the Nomads? In America, there are just 7 million Nomads, and over half of them have given their allegiance to one of the 7 Nomad nations. These groups are composed of clans, tribes, and families which share common interests and enemies. Today's video will focus on the Snake Nation. Regarded as the largest of the Nomad groups, the Snake Nation is not a true nation in the eyes of many Americans, Nomad and static alike. Nomads are generally a very libertarian and independent people. The Snake Nation is a loose confederation of those who, although they wanted to preserve their autonomy, desired a voice in Nomad politics. Unofficially, it is said the Snake Nation speaks for the entire independent Nomad population, and for the most part, they faithfully represent the views of non-aligned Nomads in North America. The Snake Nation was created in response to the formation of the other 6 nations. As these larger groups began to influence and affect both Nomad and static communities, the smaller Nomad groups realized that to advocate their views, they had to solidify as well. The Snake Nation's ranks are the most diverse of all the nations. They have no set base of expertise upon which they base their economy. Unlike the Bloods with their circuses and the Metas with their marine construction, the Snake Nation is an aggregation of families involved in all areas of the Nomad economy. The Snakes have invested a significant amount of time towards acquiring larger and more lucrative construction salvage jobs. It has become a policy among those of the Snake Nation that they must improve their marketability versus the well-rounded crews sent by other nations to these types of projects. The Snake Nation's current leader is Freddie Douglas. Freddie came from a Mormon family out of Utah desert. He is not amused by the power games that other groups play, and he would much prefer a world where he did not have to deal with other nations, and he could instead return to the simple life of an independent nomad. As a leader, Freddie Douglas is relatively inexperienced. He's only been a nomad for about a decade, but he was chosen for his post because of the stability he can provide and his willingness to negotiate with outsiders. His counsel has proven to be trustworthy. Many nomads place value on his opinion and respect his achievements, even if they dislike him personally. Freddie Douglas came to the Snake tribe from the general area of Utah. Described as an Anglo-African, Freddie was not exactly popular in his early career. Before he took the name Freddie Douglas, he was known simply as M-Dog. As M-Dog, he controlled a great deal of the Pacific Northwest drug trade from Seattle. When the bioplague hit South America, M-Dog was out of luck, as was his drug-dealing competitors. The war between the distribution networks for the remainder of the drugs business in North America was fought only half-heartedly. The dealers essentially knew that the real war was already lost, and all they were fighting over was the scraps. M-Dog saw his organization start to crumble around him, so he took his closest friends and he sought new pastures. Over the next few years, the Dogs, as their group became known, did what they could to survive. In some ways, they had a head start on many of those in America because for them, the collapse came a few years early. Like other emerging nomad groups, the Dogs made somewhat of a name for themselves, recruiting talented individuals, evolving their organization, and overcoming a host of obstacles in the process. Eventually, the Dogs became one of the main players in the Pacific Northwest, but not without a price. Aryan separatist groups like the Order had long made the Pacific Northwest their home as well. They seriously disliked for dogs, given it was largely composed of rebellious non-Caucasian criminals, and most of all, they wanted Freddy dead. In one of the final clashes between the two sides, Aryan groups raided the dogs' camp. Over 100 were killed that night on both sides, and many were left severely injured. Freddy lost his wife and young son, as well as his left eye and use of his left arm when a crude missile struck his car. Despite these challenging circumstances, Freddy learned to persevere. The organizational skills he learned as a drug dealer served him well in providing leadership to his clan. When the nations formed, Freddy was there. He watched carefully, as did many of the nomads who attended, and he maintained constant communication with the leaders of several other sizable tribes of similar opinion. He was determined to stay independent, but as things began to shake out, Freddy and the others became nervous of the size and power of the new nomad nations. They felt they had to be equal to compete, and they had to compete to survive. They therefore chose to form a coalition to protect their own interests, ergo giving birth to the Snake Nation. Overall, Freddy Douglas is a capable man gifted with both the strength to see his will done and the intelligence to know that strength is often not the best solution. He has seen the power games that other groups play, and he has not been amused. Given the size of the snakes and their influence, it seems likely that they will feature again in Cyberpunk Red. Although whether Freddy will survive in such a volatile environment might be a different story. Hey Choom, I'm Kazuliski, and I hope you found the Cyberpunk 2077 discussion on Nomads to be informative. Are you interested in more Cyberpunk 2077 content? Then be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you for chipping in.
True to the promise made in 2013, it's still coming when it's ready.